Hey, thanks for coming back to my channel. If this is your first time, thank you for joining me. Hopefully you enjoy the video. If you do, please click like and subscribe. We're into the season now, so there'll be videos coming, thick and fast as we go through. If you have been to my channel before, thanks for coming back. If you haven't already subscribed, please do subscribe and like, share. I'm trying to grow my audience. So hopefully you're enjoying what I have to say. And if you have any comments, anything that you'd like to add, please feel free to do so by adding comments here, or you can come to my social media, sensible_gunner on Twitter and Instagram, and leave your comments there. I am going to do a very quick review of the game against Brentford today. So let's get into it. Okay, I've kind of promised myself this season I'm not going to be talking about referees. I'm not going to be talking about VAR. I'm not going to be talking about any of that stuff. And so I'm kind of adamant to avoid it. It's not going to be in my key points. I will just say this. The second goal, I've never seen in my time involved in this game, which is, almost 35 years now. Anybody put their arms around a keeper to pin their arms and it be let go. And I'm going to be as brave as to say, I don't think we'll ever see any contact on a goalkeeper's arms for the rest of the season that is not called a free kick. I mean, yes, Leno's culpable. Leno should be stronger. Leno should be pushing him away. Leno should be getting a player in between him and the player and Janssen. There are so many things Leno can do, but fundamentally, that will be given a free kick every single time. You'll see it for the rest of the season. Anyway, I don't want to say it was a poor performance. It was definitely bad in parts, but it was definitely a bad result. I think that's safe to say. I'm going to break this down into 5 kind of key areas that I want to talk about. That are not just this game, but kind of just some kind of recurring things that I've seen. So. For some reason, Arsenal don't seem to get going until much later in the game. And it's beginning to get a little bit worrying. I'm not going to lie. In the first half, it's almost as if the first half we're going to play out a draw. We're going to try to dominate the game in terms of possession. And then as the game gets stretched later, or as the other team gets stretched because they are tired of chasing and pressing the ball, we'll then come into the game. The problem is, and the stat says it, 16 games where we've been losing in the first half, and we haven't won one of those games. The problem is, if you concede a goal early in that half, or if you concede a goal in that first half without scoring a goal, the other team are now just going to sit in. And Arsenal's big problem at the moment is breaking teams down that sit in. I'm going to talk about that later. I would just rather see Arsenal just play your game. Forget about breaking it down into halves and statistics in terms of when goals almost scored and that kind of thing. Just play your game. We're a big club. We're a massive club. We are known for dominating our opponent, bullying our opponent, playing our game. And when I say bullying, I mean in terms of ball possession. Obviously, we haven't been physical in 10 years or so. But playing with the ball, using our possession, moving the ball, we dominate and bully teams that way. Why we're now starting to kind of play to the opponent before then imposing ourselves in the second half, I don't understand. It makes no sense to me. It's happening way too often where in the first half we're chasing the game. I don't understand it. I don't understand why we're playing like this. I'm hoping that changes for the rest of the half. But that's a key issue for me. in the first half, we are just playing very slow, very pedestrian. There's very little creativity or movement or anything like that. And it's something that has to change. And I know this is going to sound quite harsh because Pepe had a very good run, at the end of the season. But what I'm seeing is we get the ball, especially on the left side, we move the ball until we can get Tierney into a position where he can cross. But he's usually playing with a right-sided kind of a right-footed forward or right-footed wing player or wide player or inverted winger or whatever you want to call them that can come inside. So today it was Martinelli who can come inside. And as he can come inside, he can pull the fullback in where we can then isolate Kieran Tierney for the cross. On the right-hand side, we just don't have it. And that's partly because we have that inverted fullback. So the fullback comes in behind Pepe. And what's happening a lot is Smith Rowe is going wide into the wide area. But Pepe isn't using any of these people. He's doing the step over, coming inside. Step over, coming inside. It's very predictable. I like to see a few times Chambers going down the outside and Pepe giving him the ball. That's what's going to get the defender to just drop off you a little bit because they don't want to get beaten in a 2v1. And that's going to give him the opportunity to step inside and shoot. It didn't happen anywhere near often enough in the game where Chambers went past him, first of all, but it then didn't happen often enough where Chambers went past him and received the ball. I think one of the very few times it did happen, Chambers crosses to Xhaka on the back post, who hits the shot, hits it very well, too well probably, and it goes, just over the bar. But that was one of our best chances, and it came down the right-hand side. We're too predictable in our attack, and it's going to cost us. We have to start to get, the crosses coming from both sides of the field, and we have to start to get, those inverted wingers being able to come inside because they've got 2v1s going, down the outside of them. That is one thing I would change if I had the ability to wave that magic wand. We seem to play with a front line of a centre forward with two inverted wingers, wide forwards, whatever you want to call them. But the only real movement comes between the 10, really, or comes from the 10, not between. The only real movement comes from the 10. Emile Smith-Rowe today was on both sides of the field. Both sides of the field looking to influence the game. But pretty much Martinelli stayed on the left. The centre forward stayed in the middle. Balogun or whoever it was. And the right-sided forward, Pepe, or whoever it was, stayed on their side. So there's no actual fluid movement. It's very, very easy to defend against. Their left back or left centre back has got to pick up our right winger or right forward. And if they never cross over each other, there's no defenders are not having to pass people on. There's no confusion. It's the reason this is frustrating for me is because we've all heard about Pep Guardiola's philosophy in terms of build up. And my job is to get you to the final third. In the final third, be creative, move, do what you want. And you'd think Arteta, having worked under Pep Guardiola, would have a similar philosophy to that. And it doesn't seem to be evident, and it doesn't seem to be working. Players aren't moving around each other, so there's no opportunity for interplay. It's all very predictable. I'd like to see a little bit more movement between the players. When the 10 comes outside, let's have the outside player go in to become the 10. And then you're forcing players to have to switch things over. And this is where players can be lost. This is where you can find the through balls to players because they've lost their marker. So that's another frustration for me. I'd like to see that changed. That was the huge issue today, I think. Arsenal had 65% of the possession overall, but 22 attempts on goal, only 4 on target. And the 4 on target didn't really work the goalkeeper. We need to be more clinical. It's easy to say if Aubameyang or Lacazette were in the game, two people who are much more experienced forwards and have a better idea as when to spin and hit, when to take a touch and hit, when to hit first time, etc., etc. Maybe more of those attempts will be on target because they're used to dealing with these things under pressure. But they weren't there today. We've still got players who are capable of hitting the target and who are capable of doing better. It has to improve. I like to think if we have Aubameyang, if we have Lacazette, if we have these players in the team, these chances, which is, it's definitely a positive in that we were able to create 22 attempts on goal. And hopefully these kinds of players can take, 1 or 2 of these chances. But today it was poor. It, just looked so toothless, looked like we were never going to score. And that's frustrating. I'm not going to be too harsh on those players because they're very young. They're coming through. They're still learning their trade. But it has to improve. I'm not sure what's going on behind the scenes there with Aubameyang and Lacazette. There's talk of them potentially being sold and just this kind of thing. And I'm not sure what's going on there, but whatever's going on behind the scenes, it needs to sort itself out quickly. We can't be having 2 key players like that when you've already got Partey out, when you've already got Gabriel out, who are key players in our team. Can't have 2 players out. I mean, if you're sick, fair enough. But if it's not that, if it's something else, then it has to be sorted out quickly. Not happy, but it's the first game. I know the game's only going to get harder. This is where we're going to really see kind of, the mettle of the team. Are they strong enough mentally, for the challenge? And let's just see how these next 2 games go. We're already playing catch up, but more of what I saw at the end of last season gives me a bit more encouragement. And we know that we're definitely going to add to the ranks. So let's see what the team looks like in a few weeks' time when the window's closed, and hopefully we can start to pick up some points in our next game. So there were some positives. The big positive for me in the game was Sam Bilakonga. I mean, just looked so comfortable on the ball, looked to play forward as often as possible. He covered the ground really well, seems to be developing a really good relationship with the players in positions around him. Pretty much didn't put a foot wrong. The way, his ability to kind of maintain possession of the ball when he's under pressure, his ability to turn away from pressure, his ability to, pick the right pass, whether to go forward, whether to kind of stop and come to the near side to start to pull the defense wide, when to open up and hit the other side of the field and switch the point of attack. Just all of his decision making just looked really, really, really good. Really pleased with him. I think once Partey's back, Partey and Xhaka will be the starting midfield pair, and rightly so. But I do think that Sambi will be third choice. Unbelievable, just unbelievable. I'm really, really pleased with the way he's settled. Another positive is, the chance creation. While we were poor in front of goal and were not clinical, even kind of anywhere near what we need to be, we still created, a lot of opportunity. for people to have an attempt at goal. At times we were able to play through lines really nicely. Smith Rowe was excellent in picking up spaces, very active. Pepe and Martinelli didn't have the best of games, so it was good to see Smith Rowe do so well in his position. When Saka came on, he looked very lively. I love that Saka's always happy to take possession of the ball under pressure with players around him. I think he could have easily had a penalty later on in the game. The referee, I guess, has tried to say he stuck a leg back into the player, but he looks like he's drawn his leg back to hit across, wasn't even looking at the player behind him. And the player made contact with him without making contact with the ball. So there's an argument for a penalty. But generally, that was good. I was very pleased with chance creation and those players and their ability to do that. I thought Tini was good. Frustrates me a little bit that he always looks for a clear opportunity to cross. I'd like to see him try to cross a little bit earlier at times, and even if it gets blocked out, you're looking at corners and that kind of thing. And I think that helps to pin you. It helps to pin your opponent into their area. Forces their forwards back in to defend, and it's then harder for them to break out against you. So I'd like to see him maybe put balls in a little bit earlier, but I think what he did put in was dangerous the majority of the time. I think another positive was the ability to play progressively. I think White did a very good job with a few diagonal balls and playing into midfield. Didn't really pick the ball up and kind of stroll into midfield like we've seen him do. But it's early days, and so I think the new boys did a good job, covered themselves in a little bit of glory, especially amongst the group that didn't really. And so it bodes well for the future. Thanks for listening. Thanks for coming and watching my video. If you've got anything that you would like to add, please feel free to add into the comments. If you are interested in kind of getting in touch with me through social media, once again, it's sensible_gunner on Instagram and on Twitter. And if you've enjoyed the video, please like, please subscribe, please share. And I'll be back soon. As always, come on, you Gunners.